In the early to mid-1800s, the vast majority of people in America live rural lives, with the bulk of their foods, tools, clothing, and fortune made by themselves and their families or locally. Communication and travel was tedious and difficult, while products were handcrafted and expensive. Even though this rural way of life was laborious, people have managed to get by in this manner for centuries.
This leisurely pace of life quickly shifted into one of rapid development in industry, which is known as the American Industrial Revolution between the time of 1870 and 1920. Before the industry boom was introduced in America, the first industrial revolution began in Great Britain. From then on, inventors and skilled workers traveled to America and started their own factories based on copied and memorized machine designs from Britain. Though Britain prohibited the export of their technology and worker skills, people did it anyway.
One early business venture named Samuel Slater, who was known as the father of the American Industrial Revolution, carried over his knowledge from Britain textile technology to America and designed textile mills there.
But many other factors kick-started the revolution as well, like the discovery of new resources in our nation, such as coal, iron ore, steam power, and oil. Also, government support for business, and growing urban population with expanding markets for cheap labor.
Due to these factors, unprecedented innovations followed, such as the expansion of transportation. This expanded mainly because of the War of 1812 with Britain, which motivated people to create a better transportation system that was essential in the order for Americans to gain greater economic independence. Soon, more canals were built, as well as steamboats, railroads, locomotives, and eventually automobiles.
Another influence that sped up industry development was the harnessing of electricity, invented by Thomas Edison in 1879. The incandescent light bulb changed the way we live significantly. With electricity, work hours could extend beyond the day and go through into the night. People did not have to be dedicated by the schedules of natural light. The instancy of turning on and off a light enabled people to have much more freedom.
Henry Ford and his perfectly assembly line method changed industry by introducing more efficiently in mass production. This is a process where a product successfully gets assembled at each station where a worker is given a specific task on how to add to its making. It ultimately affects factory process all over America, and that in manufacture produces faster. Ford also contributed to the impact of the nation by producing an automobile that the average of America could afford. American life transformed dramatically by many being able to afford cars.
An inventor named Eli Whitney also revolutionized the efficiency of production by creating the cotton gin in 1793, which led to an increase in cotton farms and the need for labor. Another form of communication that was introduced during this time was the invention of the telephone, created in 1876 by Alexander Bell. This invention was an all-purpose tool that created more jobs, was useful in business, education, and home life. That is a critical development in our lives today.
The Industrial Revolution raised the quality of life for the upper and middle classes, but lowered it for the poor and lower classes. Many factory laborers lived either on the streets or in cramped and unsanitary single-roomed apartments called tenements. This type of housing generally didn't have ventilation or windows, and oftentimes was shared by whole families. Despite these harsh and urban conditions, cities were full of tenements. Pollution and cramped living spaces caused for epidemics of disease and illness. Life as a factory worker was also grueling in that they worked for at least 10 hours a day. The wages were scanty and the risk of danger just working in the factory was high. Some might lose a limb or get sick due to exposure to toxins, but they would quickly be replaced by new laborers. Factories didn't protect their workers in any way, which led to acts and gatherings of protest. These gatherings became labor unions, where workers assembled in pursuit of their protections and interests. Some pivotal events during this time were the Haymarket Square Riot of 1886, the Pullman Strike of 1894, and the Homestead Strike of 1892. All of these events took place on account of factory workers and unionists protesting about their poor working conditions and low wages.